Hey there and welcome to a new video. In today's video, we will see how to automatically create a entity relationship diagram using SSMS. First, we will create a database, then create some tables in which we will define proper relationship between different tables, and then we will see how to create the entity relationship diagram for that particular tables. For that, we are going to create a database called ERD. So first, let us create the database. So I'm using the statement create database ERD. Execute this, and the database will be created. Now, using the second statement, which is the use ERD, which will basically switch the database to ERD. So whenever now we are running a query or are going to create a table, the table will be created within the ERD database. Or whenever we are running a select statement, the select statement will be pointing to the ERD database. Now we will create four tables. So we will create a customer table. Then coming down, we have a second table, which is the product table. Then we have an orders table and an order item table. First, let us go and create the customer table. So in the customer table, we have to make sure that we should define the primary key and the foreign key properly so that when we create the entity relationship diagram, automatically the relationship will be appearing in the diagram. Otherwise, we will have to manually create the relationship. By defining proper relationship, that is by defining primary key and foreign key, the relationship will be automatically appearing in the entity relationship diagram. So in the customer table, the first column is customer ID. So it will be an integer column and it will be the primary key for that particular table. And coming down, we have the first name, last name, email, and phone number, which is the variable character data type. And finally, we have a created at column, which is the date data type. Execute this, and we will create a customers table. Execute, and a customer table has been created in the ERD database. Now, coming down, we have a second table, which is the products table, which has product ID, which is an integer column, and product ID will be the primary key for that particular products table. Coming down, we have the product name category, which will be of variable character data type. And coming down, we have a price column. And finally, we have a stock quantity column. So these are the columns which are available in the products table. And here also we have a primary key column, which is the product ID column. Execute this and we will create the products table. Execute. So the products table has also been created. Now coming down, we have another two table, which is the orders table and order item table. Now first we will create the orders table. Going through the orders table, we can see that we have a order ID column, which is the primary key, and it will be of integer data type. And we have a customer ID column and we have an order date column. Also, we have another column, which is the status column. Now we can see that there is another constraint which is defined here, which is the foreign key constraint. So foreign key, open and close parenthesis, inside we specify the column name, that is customer ID. In the table orders, customer ID will be acting as a foreign key, which will reference the customer ID column from the customers table. So there is a relationship which is created with the orders table and the customers table. So here we have a customer ID column, which is the primary key for that particular table. But coming down, there is another customer ID which is defined in the orders table, and this customer ID will be acting as a foreign key, and it is referencing the customer ID in the customers table. It is important that we define the foreign key constraint properly so that the relationship is automatically appearing. Then coming down, we have another table, which is the orders item table. So before going to orders item table, let us execute this query and create the orders table. Execute, and we have the orders table created with the constraints as well. Now coming down, we have a final table, which is the orders item table, which has got order item ID, which is of integer data type and which is the primary key for that particular table. And we have a order ID column, product ID column, and we have a quantity column. And all these three columns are integer data type. And coming down, we have another two constraints which are defined. The first constraint is foreign key constraint on the column order ID. So this order ID is a foreign key which is referencing the order ID from the orders table. So going up, we can see that in the orders table, we have a order ID column. So another order ID column we have in the orders item table. So there is a relationship defined between this order ID column from the orders item table and the order ID column from the orders table. Here the order ID is acting as the primary key, but coming down into the orders item table, the order ID is acting as the foreign key. And there is one more constraint which is defined, that is foreign key constraint on the product ID column. So here we have a product ID column, and this is referencing product ID from the products table. Now going up in the products table, we can see that there is a product ID column. So which is a primary key, and this is referencing the foreign key product ID which is defined in the orders item table. So this is also another constraint which is defined in the orders item table. Now execute this and the table will be created along with the constraints. Execute, and all the four tables has been successfully created. Now we have all the tables with the proper relationship between each tables. Now in order to create an entity relationship diagram, we will come to the Object Explorer on the left side. Refresh this. Then we will be able to see the new database which is created, that is the ERD database. Expand this and expand the table, and we can see the tables which we created now, which are customer table, orders item table, then orders table and products table. So these are the four tables which we created now. Now going to the database diagram, right click on this. Now what we will do is we will click on the new database diagram option. Now click on yes. Now a window will appear where we can select the required tables. So here we will select the table one by one. So we will select the customer table first. Add customer table. Now we will select the orders item table. Now we have selected orders table, and finally we have a products table. Then add the products table also. After selecting all the required tables, we can close the dialog box. Now we can see that the entity relationship diagram has been automatically created with the relationship that we have defined in the table script. So going through the table, we can see that in the products table, product ID is the primary key. You can see a key next to product ID column. Then coming down to the orders item table, we can see that order item ID is the primary key. But between products table and orders item table, there is a relationship which is defined. The relationship was in this product table, product ID was considered as a primary key, but coming to the orders item table, we have another product ID column which is considered as a foreign key within the orders item table. Now we have another table which is the orders table, in which order ID is the primary key, but when we compare the orders table and the order item table, we can see that here we have an order ID which will act as the foreign key and which will establish a relationship between the orders table and order item table. Now when we compare the orders table and customers table, we can see that there is another relationship which is defined. So here we have a customer ID column which is the foreign key, and we have a primary key in the customers table which is the customer ID, which will help us create a relationship between the orders table and the customers table. Now this is a simple example. ERD diagram comes into play when we deal with complex queries and when we write queries on tables which consist of hundreds of columns, because during that time we cannot manually go and see what is the relationship which is established between different tables and all. Instead, we can simply drag and drop the tables which are required, and we can automatically see what is the relationship which is defined between different tables and which columns are acting as the foreign key, which columns are acting as the primary key, and what is the relationship established between the two tables. All this can be identified using the proper entity relationship diagram and also defining the table schema properly. In a future video, I will show you how ERD diagram can be helpful in writing complex queries. Hope you like this video. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more. Thank you.